5.
제자다 디나노는 아주 가르 통투 요래 수디 삼발라 아니 줄람카 응아기 두시니다 두두와스 줄람 당보다 니버숨바네 아니 시방아와 버드체.
Can anyone tell me how many channels the Muse has?
제자 넘버 중원에 아니 수이나 지기 아니 단당 아주 뮤즈레 줄람 가지 유미디 송 디그드웨스.
4. Yeah, why is there 5 channels?
아니 시마드 메 간레 줄람 ngal레 디그도 ngal레 고에데 가르치니 이나스. Some of them are saying that just for the average.
No,
The calculation of the average.
it's a trick question. I haven't told you yet. So,
That the numbers of 가르치고래 아니 hello 올리다 단 numbers of that trick 지양 그거 다 칼루디 지야기 된대기 트와서 도시 딩에 numbers of 쉬메 버시레스.
so the Muse, you can plug in another sensor to the battery port. So instead of charging, you can add an extra sensor.
제자다 디 카레스디 삼발라 단다 디 뮤스들 남주이나 피게 로사사시 리기도와 로사사 텔레야 양교 아니 야 소지 직 카노이신의 루야 요레스 갑리 요르와 테바직 도시네 콜 투자 요레스.
And this can be useful if you want to put a sensor maybe in the back of the head instead of just the side and the front.
제자다 디 카릴 표지다 요레스디 삼발라 키싱 안조 양디 틴데 소지 든조 페나 차신의 geblo도 와라 표지다 거야게 내단다고 든데레 소나 안디졸 표지 첨부 요레스 단데 듄다 아니 디자 마임베 니 geblo도 와라 거야게 내단레 바임베이나.
So I made this little sensor out of a a hair thing, headband. Yes, it's a little headband.
다 제자 아니 게라 코란기 피게디 geblo 샤야디 인서와 다 간다디 소진 투사디 인서와 다 인중 안조 오는 고 투디에 틴데지렌도 안 남소 오디레스.
And so as I talk about the data, I'll pass this around so you can take a look. I have extra sensors that plug into your Muses.
제자 단나바초 아니 디네마 아니 카르스고레 아니 장도디 슈와 단냠도 아니 디 나바초마 도시네 아니 타메디 치기스 카레스디 삼발라 아니 초지 파르마직 단다디 가 어디 아니 나바초 타네 디기요레스.
So even if there's nothing plugged in, it will still record channel 5. If you don't plug in a sensor, you can ignore that column.
제자다 델레디 삼발라 아니 코란기 디나노라 카르스고레 투메바 임바이나야 아니 피게기 리미 나노라 탄다디 줄람가와스니 샤디기레스 아니 투요바이나 탄다디 나노라 코란디 다타 레코드 치기르와 아니 케신 투메바 임바이나 아니 ngawa디 아니 나메 당샤네 디기요레스 number 2.
So the other columns are ID, which is just counts up from 0.
제자다 디네마 양조 아니 슝디 셈바조르와 다디 인주 카레스디 삼발라 당안주디 ID 수수수디 ID 다디 가르와 다디 단디나 레고네 치그마 두시네 샤샤도 디차데기요레스.
And then 2 time columns that record the precise time of each sample for each channel.
제자다 델레디 삼발라 디니니 다디 가르치기요레스디 삼발라 디니니기 아니 인주 아니 줄람 수수기 아니 다 투즈조르와 time did you say the time?
Time.
야 안디 가즈 줄람 수 아니 딱다 센지 체조르와 어디 차기요레스.
The sample rate of the Muse is 256, so there will be 256 rows per second.
200 sample rate, did you say?
256.
256 sample rate of the Muse?
Yes.
That deal with Sambala, any Nanzuki Karsagore, that Pensuingi, and it's Seshi Dawsegurve, on that D, any Tanda di Muse Nanola, Kazi or City Sambala, any 256 Tamba, then Yijang of Junga Tamba Yores, that deal with Sambala Kuranzo, any Titi Nanola, any did or was.
So let's see how many seconds this file is. Let's see how long it is.
Tadima ani ta indu sambala ani ringthi ta ringse khaji du ta dire do adina no lama kasha na go yemendo
298 seconds, so approximately 5 minutes long.
Tadile de sambala ani kasha na go indi sambala kasha nija gulju khobji rapsi chewa ina ani kamangas chadu yo res ringse do de tuze inse di.
So this is what the raw data look like before we filter, before we process, before we do anything to it.
Chezanda di inju khare se sambala thangdu jemba de cherwa thangdu jemba de nganzu cha ma je nguyengi ani da ji cha ja da dindre gi jurim ji dogu yorwa tunzu mandru nguyengi ani thangdu jemba de khande yore se sambala ani dindre tobjire landi gi yores.
Using another program that only works on Windows, I will send everyone. You can process your data.
Chezanda dile de sambala ani anjo nganzu ani phige gi program ta shembaji da dia lega khawala chigri se sambala ani thanda nganzu lole window yunjo de chiguji kalma de lega chigyo mares ndi number zo samala genla korang ge jel ma futures.
And I will make the figures that I showed you during the PowerPoint.
Cheza andile de sambala ani genla korang gi thanda di phigel pirij sugudo thanda di PowerPoint kala to yundu samba duzute di sugudo an duzute ni genla korang gi suene ani kyoran zo tang chogu yores. Sui chogu yores.
So first, let's create this figure.
Da tangbo de langa zo piri di do ju sewa imbainas.
I'm loading Legden's data file by clicking on Load Data.
Tadi chedi sambala ledengi tanda ane changtogi tanda nganzo phige file chingna no pha ane chu leim di sambas.
And I simply click on the folder that I showed you before.
Di dingelia ane korangi phige folder jo dingel tunjo jora wodi nano lan juni di yores.
And now that the data are loaded, let's make some figures. You click on the word figures.
Chezanda dele de sambala di thangto duzu thedi su lensa res lensa di sambala da ngazu che goya khare yore si di sambala ane di figures tanda ngazu piri jungu yor remove jungu yor wa sobda piri wodi nano ne chi res.
And you choose your sensor.
Ane dine number chogi phigel choji di khare khare dam madam jor wa wodi dam address.
EEG is the one we want.
Da dinalo ngazo goya di EEG lezeluri di chadi gi or was di dam.
And then you can plot different kinds of data. The options are time series, FFT, band power, and time frequency.
Da dile de sambala phigel pha ani thangto di dui chabe jel ani phige piri nala ko yundu sambala ani ko nam ndawa mangbu yores da dile de some time series de sambala an tuzegi ani chigi yan rimba do chikche an thaga na sing FFT da ani brand power stage do o thindi ri mandawa nanu pha ani piri gana twendan di yores.
I'll show each one, and they should all be familiar from the visuals that we saw earlier, the visualizer.
Chezanda genla korangi du rereshin ten yung rere ten yung du sambala anamba zo peje dinge gi genla korangi tunjo jora tinde yimba yin songza anamba zo ma chejila ani gyunga yebi so dawji chadu gres.
So time series first, and you can choose your channel. I will choose all of them.
Da tanda di time series se tuzi rimba se dh do o da digi nanola ani nen sabe jelia ani susu gi gulam channel khar khar damgi me genla koran yimba ina ani chasan damgi se jora o di chigres.
This includes the same filters that we saw before.
Chezan dile de sambala dinala cha ja di ani dingel nga zun thongshen jo da thongshen jo jora o di tunzu de chiba cha de tunzu de chu de gi yores.
So I click on all, and then here is the data for all 4 channels.
Chezan da din chaman di se chama se all says yora dinen sa di sambala ani tanda nga zu julam ani chame gi tanda di da thangto jor wa julam su su gi o da tunzu de sama delle de yora channel nga ga di.
You can save or you can even zoom in.
Dadi pa ani number chogi ani nyasa chigi yoba yimba yinare taga nashi yang ko ya cheru tanya da tinde che yores.
So let's look at FFT. Does anyone know what FFT might stand for? Another trick question.
Ya na ni chiwa shimba chi karso gore dan gonyo so do lai gore da kanda ani kangi FFT se yo and digi tunda ani karin syungu yume ani koran pa signa wa ina di karil kogu yume di ani hakunge US FFT
Stands for fast Fourier transform. Just think of it as frequency. It is frequency.
bala injut karil lawa ina number so di samutana digyo res nga zo deju jorwa o di ani da tunda di relana digyo res.
And so on the x-axis, we see the frequencies. And here at 10 hertz, we can see the alpha frequency.
Chesa da dinalon chetik nalon nga zo karita to yore sid sambar deju di ta to duas an taga na jin haz juwa khandele ya tanda nga zo alpha gi ani topse alpha jungu yo on di thong du dos.
We can also plot the band power, which is the bars that we saw earlier for alpha, beta, theta, and delta.
Taga na shin chigi tanda nga zo pige ani piri nalo ko ndu sambala band power stage to tanda dig nalo ko yores di nga zo dingel thong sha wajire inju kare sid sambala ani kha nga zo tandi alpha da ani beta da tunzu thedi ani bar graph nalo da dinde tuen jorwa on di chagi yores.
The labels are too small, but each box is a different channel, and each bar is a different frequency.
Cheza da dele de sambala di khare sid sambala ani dinde gi tushi re doa tushi re di kharin chungu yore sid sambala julam re chungu yores ani julam re gi nano la ani thanda di ani dushe mandawa yuding yungu yorwa o din chungu yores da bar thanda di bar nga zo di yorwa on the.
So finally, let's make the figure in the presentation.
Ta nga zo thama dele da digan linda standa nga zo di kar se gore tamshe se gore da presentation che jorwa.
I click time frequency, and then I'll do channel 1.
Ta gela korang dinalo kare dam yore sid sambala thambo nga zo time frequency se de che ani tu da tanda nga zo de jorwa ti dem sabe jelia tine ani tanda julam thangbu din ne bainas.
There it is. Can anyone tell me, is this eyes open or eyes closed, do you think?
Cheza dile de sambal da di chade gi yore sta di pari dile te bayimba ina number zo sukhangi di mi chumbe kal resha ya mena mi dambe kal resha di she thug do es. Eyes closed.
Yes. Nice. That's correct.
Re thagaran res numbers.
Now I'll load Takti's data.
Ta dine ani tabge gi ani tangtu dushan jo jora thamge o da di ani achu luya indas.
And I'll click on figures, EEG, time frequency.
Cheza da dine damdu sambala thambu figure dam tine EEG che tine ani tu da dusho se je semba damsa jungu doa an tine ani channel thangbu din ne dir do an rodan rawdi.
Channel 1. And then it creates this automatically.
Da di Quran automatic system da Quran ranking chu le yung do adi rangu to ne.
And what do we think this is? Eyes open or eyes closed? Pay
Da di
attention.
nalon la ani ya mi zum de ore sha ya me ani mi dancing jure dos nabas.
Pay attention to the alpha.
Danshas. Many of them are saying eye open.
Yes.
With eye open.
Eyes open.
Yeah.
Correct. And if we look at the figure, it should look very similar to the one in the presentation. So finally, let's get our data into a spreadsheet.
Dan tamadil dang aran sugi ani tangdu di su ani ta len chine tandang anju spreadsheet tanda di pige tunsa sholish ligwa wada digan di chai das.
We click on export.
Ta dilin di sambalang anju export su ki ondin chesa joro wadi dus name ge is
EEG, we want EEG again.
EEG
Time frequency.
tu da du shu se di.
And if you saw that, I just clicked it.
Kyonan tongso ange dil name ji name so as.
And then you can go into your folder,
Ani pige folder nanon ju.
and it automatically creates a spreadsheet.
Ani kora ani karsu gore ani tanda di spreadsheet so joro kora rangi so sha yo res.
So this spreadsheet will have a lot of columns.
Ta dili ani ngazu khar du sidi sambala ani chik shungdi mangbu shibi je de batinde cha de duas.
But we just want to look at the alpha because we want to know if it's eyes open or eyes closed.
Cheza da ngaran su dinal ta goe de khar cha gi yore sidi sambala alpha gi di cha de yore khar chin lana ngazu shendu di khar re sidi sambala ko mi zum yo bada mi dang yo na se di cha de yor was.
So let's export the band power.
Ta dili di sambala ngazu pige band power sidi jusa jo ho dinal ni chu ani len din das.
It creates a new spreadsheet.
Di yang korang gi di spreadsheet di so yung go res di name sa du.
And that's more like it. That's simple. That's what we wanted.
Ta di tes jing yang ko tab de do was.
We have each of the bands.
Ta ngazu dinal la tanda di delta da theta da alpha su su gi ani di in band se gore da khanda di tangdo di tagda duas.
And each of the channels.
An taga na ji ni gulam su su gi ti tagda yung duas.
And we want to look at alpha.
Ta dinalo la ngazu alpha chi uta gu yo ba yin songza ani alpha di damchan dik doa.
All right, so that was eyes open. Let's load his eyes closed data to compare.
Ta di khare si di sambal da ngazu di mi ani dambe gi di ne dan di cha de yor wa. Ta ngazu ani mi che ne ani di gi tangdo na dewa shura on di su wa che was.
We click export, EEG,
EEG
band power,
and band power.
and then we open it.
An tagara di khachi sa do kora su du do.
And there's our alpha for eyes closed.
Ta dili di samal de nganzu thanda di mi zum be dan jebe ki en pege alpha ki thang to jorwa o di del duas ta dini ni durwa ima ina la gorda.
All right, can anyone tell me which side is open and which side is closed?
Ta na bazu dinalo ne dini ni durje te ba ima ina ani khagi di da dini ngwe ni yorwa durin de sambala khagi di mi chenjo de resha khagi di mi dangjo de resha an di song thug dues. Kharsa leba gen leba kharsa ha ko thu de parsho di mi zumjo di mi dangjo di mi niga zumjo re dulembe. So he was saying that this one is with closed eye, and then the other one, the left one is the open eye.
This one open?
Di mi chenjo mi dangjo dirbe. Okay. This one's closed eye. This one's the open eye.
This one's closed?
Yeah. This one is the open eye. That one is closed eye. I don't know. So there's a different suggestion from the different students. Some of them are saying this is the with open eye, and that one is the da chigi sha kyanda ni tachin di jainda. This one is the with closed eye, that one is the with open eye.
Yes, that is correct.
That did yours.
Open, closed. And
Dadi yimbe jumzen kharchine res. Di dame jumzen shorwa di kharchine res. Ah. Kagedi. Okay, the reason why they are saying is the data number, the collected data number is here is 1.2, and then over there is 0.7.
Yes, correct. So we can see this number is bigger than that number.
Cheza dile di sambala inju khari si di sambala da di chik cha ni da phashu di lego sa du chejung duwa yimba na di angi di che yo da yimba ni cha de yor was.
And that's true for each of the channels.
Cheza da di ani pige julam tangbo cha mayimba an julam ni ba da sumba da shiwa chamal durwa yimba ina an di chu di su che yo de ba di red.
What we could do, is create an average and take the average alpha so we can look at them side by side.
Yanju nganzo shemba ji chetuwe jil khari yore su disam ni gi ani chanyom gi tapena chashan alpha jorwa ta di julam shiga gi ani dini ni ga gi dilen chine ani tine chanyom gi chane ani yewi ni de pha ani durya yorwas thobrandi.
Now it's pretty clear from these which one is closed.
Chezanda dilta indi sambala ani khagi di mi sumjo yime di phese ani tis chik sebu da uchag duas.
So the alpha is higher, and that makes sense because the eyes were closed. If we were, there are ways to test statistically whether these are truly different.
Cheza da dile di sambala pena chashana delia ani kharsugore alpha gi ani ma yungu duas yungu di sambala da di mi sum di sambala ngazo alpha gi alpha di ma yungu yuas ani phashu di nyua yung de chik ani inju di yang oner du ta di yang ko kharsugore nganjun thazi gi thone yang ko di cheba che yo res ne man che yo res ta kanda.
But I don't think we have time for that lesson. I think I will end here, and we can talk about the research questions, unless there are any other questions.
Cheza dile di sambala yang di ma kharsugore di antazi gi thone di khande yime tagji chedan jorwa dindu dimu da di she gi phesin ani thuju yo mares da thuje me ba yimba yin songza ani nge dele yan jugdi che ani thene an number so nyamshi dan de be gi thiba jorwa o di kanong go chu yins. So you want to hear from each table or what? The research question?
Sure, that sounds good. Nicole? Oh yeah. Table 1.
Table 1, okay. Yeah, 방모 드셨다. 누가 방모? 단데 뒤편한 디시에는 디거다. 야, 인지 미 등장하는 용가요.
No.
Wow, James.
Yeah, too much coding. Right?
जी लाद
ngaz yinji ge chwa de dan de de tong tong chin dan de jala de bi je dan de ji go yin zang de dang ba mi zam je ne la go yin na dan de gi ne do che de ge gwa gar gar du du ne data da ava da de so le yam ani ya ji de yang koron 님 da druya de gar re se na mi ge ne da no so so ge gom ya ge la de da ro mo sta ji ne do ji ya na do che ge gwa gar du koron 님 para ge man ra ge ne do che ge ya dan de ava da beta da de so ge che de.
So their research question is that when we just mentally visualizing some kind of deity and then comparing with that looking at the deity with the direct direct eye perception and seeing the differences of beta and delta, what kind of frequencies creates correspond to these two different events, or yeah, that is the their kind of research question, seeing the differences between these two in terms of alpha and delta frequencies.
Which one do you think would be affected most?
Chezanda dile disambala ani choranzogi ani tindegi nanola sta yila ani dus chetena ani thega mi ta jorwa tinini nanola da pena khagi dile shukjin shukche yungure sangu sta pena data da kharithoni na lagu yorda khagi le shukche yungure same jor
tanda de
yila shagam shidi sambala
tanda de nge samna garre sana mi chamje tha goe baina alpha ge ya tanda dige ndocho de chi thor ya lesser.
So I think when we visualize the deity, mentally visualizing the deity, and at that state, maybe there's a more kind of frequencies of alpha, more kind of alpha frequencies compared to the looking at the deity image.
Great. So you would compare visualizing the deity to looking at the deity image.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Great. And the hypothesis is more alpha for the visualization?
Yes.
Okay.
Dishas taikhanan zogi injudi tanda ani chigi yila pegegi yidam gilha ina karina chikshagum che tena ani mi gi thega ta ni digbarul duya derwas ani digi durni ani chonan zogi chosha drawudi shagam chebe kabla ya ani pege alpha gi dushudi ma yungu yedewa dik kejet chadegi warwas. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Let's do table 2.
Yeah, chogde niba inda number 2.
So our group got a little bit discussion, and then our hypothesis is are there the question is, are there any differences differences about the emotion and brain activity between people like from different stimuli, and so this is our question, and then it's a hypothesis is yes, there's a difference, especially the delta activity when from while watching the scary picture and more like a peaceful picture. So this is our hypothesis, and then we try the experimental design. You see, we have 2 participants, so each will stare their eye on the scary picture for 5 minutes, and on the peaceful picture for 5 minutes, and the time duration is 5 minutes, and then we'll see are there differences in the beta activity.
Should we translate that or?
Yes.
아니 담보 튀어디가래 간주 셈뇨다 아니 레베기 칠레셔라 아니 미세기다 벨트기 웹 연다시도 러비나로라 데슈나로라 아니 파르시나 사올라 따와다 아니 파르야 시디딘들 따오네 인 개바 용물에 용마레세 디 튀어디레서 안디 딱 간주 쇠샤라디 덴데 용구레세라 아다디 용구 요메 따야들라 아니 간주 따 냠슈와 니체 인유부디게 인 파르시나 사오다 까망아 따르주 아니 비게 karsa betra ki web taya che ani shinan sabala ya kamunga tane ani di je jera an chel ta kheba taya dichas
okay.
And one question, what would your hypothesis be? Which one would increase beta activity?
The scary picture.
Scary picture.
Chik di nani di tes kat ing jabu do shedi pabe injo do chik di an tes jingnang che ding nani ni ta yu sambala ane tini ni le ta ne ane da chosha ga thone ane pigela beta gi dushu ma che jora di khari gi che thu chi ri samgu du sambala da chik phige la shana sabu yu junjo na ni jora pari jora dil te ba yimba ina ani ya beta ma yung res.
Thank you. All right, table 3.
Ruka sumba.
ane ngaju tiwadi u ane yungu gi kap gom gi kapsu ane sane dang lebe lori ji yoro ane dila ane juwa kande daw chi yung res ta ngaju ane dursa daw ti chi tiri thangbe ne kapsu mik chum che ane u ngu ya chi yoro ane yang ni rimba ni be kapsu u ane mik che ne u ngu ya chi ngu ba dang yung chi yoro de rimba ji gala che.
So basically, they're kind of, the comparison what they're going to do is actually when someone is doing breathing meditation while, with, closing eye and then open eye. So in this, two different situations, they are going to see what kind of, frequency generates on the brain.
So open eye, closed eye, breathing meditation.
Yes.
What do you think the difference will be?
Chezanda dilid sam ni ginalone ani mandawa yunguri same jorwa da di ani kharres ta churan jong nano chosha gthone ta mi tsumba da mi dambi kabla da u da gomru chigi yorwa da dini ni kab ge da churan joge dini ni ge lebe ge ani phege ge docho mandawa tunguri se jorwa ta di ta sambala chosha gthone ani khari ngure sam gudu pena che mi zumbi kala ani beta shukche yungure abla shukche yungure ka resi gor
re ngajo dana mi chewe ka su ane mi zumbe ka su ane beta de shukchi mo yo gi chucha do jero
mi chewe ko su beta shukche che
mi zumbe ka su
mi zumbi ka su
alpha di ane
shukche
do
che
ane mi ane chewe ka su da beta di te shukche yo.
Yes. So their hypothesis is that when they do the breathing meditation with closed eye, then there will be more kind of alpha frequencies on the neuron activity, and when they open eye, when they do the breathing meditation with open eye, they assume there will be more kind of beta relatively compared to the closed eye.
Great, thank you. Table 4.
Tene ruga shiva.
So our question is like the person who did meditation before the sleep will get like deeper sleep. So we want to so we will check like whether meditating before sleep will help you to get deeper sleep. So our hypothesis is like the person who meditate before sleep will get deeper sleep.
Great, can you translate that to
Da inju di zo gen wan deng so de khari sha le di sambala thanda nga zo ni manye khon ya gom je jorwa ta gom di ani ya ko gom na no la ani shivji man zui che di che ba yin ba ina ani ya ni khuya le ya ani an chik ni ya khuya jorwa o da di yunguri se adres da di tagji che adres ta quran zo go chosha rawdi ta ni manye khon ya gom ya bu ja ba yin ba ina ni be jorwa o tinde yunguri se de adres.
And one question, which frequency will be increased for the people who meditate?
Bala dinini gnalone ane gomje du ane thanda ane dojo gichane ane khare ma yong yo resta dojo khari di ma yong yo res peg res delta.
Yes.
Delta. Yes.
All right.
Tagara resta.
Someone who doesn't meditate before sleep.
And then comparing two things, meditating and what?
We have a question from the audience. who will you, so you have someone who meditates before sleep. Who will you compare this to?
Chezanda dile ne thanda di is your was. Yandi ko Pigetanzing is in a Dursaj go yours. That you the any pinic so on the.
We will consult this on 2 person, one who goes, one who does meditation and one without meditation.
Great, thank you. And I think that's a great design. Another design, just to remind everyone, in the slide I showed from my experiment, not that it's better, yours is great as well, I had the same person do 2 different things. So you could also, if you wanted to, you could have the same meditate before sleep, and then the next night, not meditate before sleep. So you could do this experiment on yourself. You wouldn't need another person if you wanted to. So I just want to point that out, that I think it's a really great experiment idea, and there's many ways to do it, and you could just do it on yourself with a muse if you wanted to.
Chezanda dilere sambala churangi ani takjugin changui de pemisibe yakudus imbaina da genla khurangi dingel genla khurangi cheshawashi penjuen da dane ba shuba imbaina ani chawachi ani chawani ani michi che yunjo shorwa ta pena chashena churanzu nalo ne ani gom jange michi che tanda de gom nimachi la gom mani kono gom jeb ani ya nimachi che ani ani michi liya di niga taji che yungu yorwa Shinjigi, any the Mishemba Inji Minji, a Goyake Yomar, any Gala Kura Rangune, Yandi, any Pejuche Dita, your was, Tende Indi Sambala, any Tandanganzu, and Muse Pejitanche, and the Tua Ing to Tende, Suzuki Tunju Yavana, Suzuki Chet, and the your was.
I just wanted to add something to what James just said. We're different from each other. We're more similar to ourselves than we are to each other.
Cheza tanda gengi gen James ki soya telia ane khane gu chundo chigi anju shueji anzo pazu ane khansan tha deba du mandawa shiviji tha deba mandawa mambu shiviji yores ane susu li yan chigin tham me debi cha ane susu da chiba cha de yorwa ndabe cha de ane shukche yores.
So if we use the same person and test them in 2 different conditions, in the statistics we have more ability to see an effect because we don't have so many extra things that are differing between the 2 conditions. So keeping the same person in 2 conditions is usually more powerful.
Chezanda diliri sambala rawani di ane khanza ane chigi chen di sambala ane thandanga jun thazigi thone keje chen di sambala ane khanza tha deba cheba imba ina koya mandawa mambu tha deba cha mambu shivji le di sambala tinzu pa yese che yese che di gugu di sambala yan di phige thazigi thone ane yan ko chik che da den den maden se de keja mambu le yungu yorwa tinde gi chane ane neda mendawa ni liya ane khanza chi khona chi ba ya tinde chena ya ane thumde ya bu yong tinde yungu yores.
And one last point, I drink a lot of coffee. So if I was one of the people in your study, I might not get a lot of deep sleep, but just because I drink more coffee than you. So if we tested both on me, one night I meditated, one night I didn't, then, and if there was differences, then it couldn't be due to the coffee. So that's why testing the same 2 conditions can be stronger. You can control for, my addiction to coffee.
Tadile de zamba gela khora ani coffee tonga la gawu shira yes sigja tonga le pe gawu yes sigja tonga la gawu di zamba la ani gena ani chonangi takje nalo la ani chaji singi gi dadi chingnamsa ni khulre thinde kharso go jing thubu na len re thinde gi ani kharso go re chaji ne injima ina ya kyonan soge ngala takji cheba yimba ina ta ngara ra ani chigi kharso go re ni ma ku ngol gom jeb chu wa ta ani ya ni khu ni ma ku ngol gom jeb chu wa jeb chu takji jik che ni ngol gom ma jeb che takji cheba yimba ina da thumde na di ani khurang khanza chikba yin songza di coffee gi chen chen re se lab thu lab gu yo marwas o tinde chag yo res.
Table 5.
Wow.
nganzo dire karsa umara baza se ngajwa ngadi ene ngadi du yudi che jora ngane umara baza san jogi jogi che ene dilmi bade ya ene ngane mande che ene mi bade yiginde na umara bade semban ndene the dine course tini ene chewa kartu da res.
So the group number 5, their idea is that try to see between when someone actually recites some kind of mantra, verbally reciting mantra, and also the mentally reciting mantra. In that two different situation, they try to see what kind of the frequencies the frequency generates on the neural activity.
So verbal mantra versus imagining the mantra.
Reciting
mentally.
Yes.
Great. Which frequency do you think would be affected?
Pena nganzo ane ngane chobati sene peshe becha to shikche yasel take this.
Okay. When they recite when they recite mantra verbally, and then they in that state there is they assume we assume there are more kind of beta activation.
Great. And one question: what might get in the way of studying the brain activity when you speak or when you're reciting the mantra? Might anything get in the way?
Number so yang samluji khartang gu yore sidi sambala ani nganzo ani shene nga dos time di sambala diporu telia ani pegele begi ani doju senje gi ya yone jorwa king yone jorwa di yungu yosares.
Muscle ti yungura.
Yes, the muscle activation movement.
Yes, that might get in the way. And so the difference that you might find could just be due to someone who is very expressive or moving a lot and affecting the brain activity, but it's just affecting it through muscle activity. Good answer.
Shiviji Karasugore, and Shani, the Kiji some Gujatan and that Tende Yungu or Kanda, Shani Mambu Gujatan Guyora, Tende into Sambala, Deeporu Telia, and it's figure one zegi, Dushu, Chegupea, Pets and Mahimba, Deeporu Tele, Shanegi, Yan Pigila, Karso Shujente, de Mambu Jungu or Untuzote de any Yunguyores.
Table 6.
Tuba.
nga su trawa de ta mune wa cha cerebral trawa chi ra ta kare tanda pe de ko ma che ga tanda she de ta na ten de ga di nga so yam pha de de kare nga so toba za ore sana ane ta shane da ane labe kar kurul ti chi ondi shane kurung ani keng di ngi de yo me de te nga so toba za ore si ta nga so ti ke ani jab jong la kare yo me shin du yo ba da tanda ti ke ni nyab je tanda di ji ni shin do da kare sana ti ke jab jong la ani Kichi Chingaji Karan dos, and also Shindu Batis. Tati Shindu, Tanda Taku again Padia Jodagi, Ramba Mobuj Padia. Tisuga and Jabjon Lab once a serial Kartandi Jabjon Kermachin Kario meeting also Tishindu Yuris. Tati Shindo and also Tashikaraji Orsana, Tagdi Tatsusa Jikil and also meet so much Samra, and Shani Dalabi Kurdan, and Wombo Lika Chunimetric as it's Malhulu Paptoach Pumni, and not Savulu Noloni, and it same tribalas over. Jibde Gomata, that's same Kazi Stuart and Jibde Payona, T and Kimbi, and Ishiki Karatiyome, Ticolangas, Truadan, and it also Sopa Chet and the Cassetini Shiki Yunguyoina, that and the Apasia, the Suga and Shiki Zoyama, and part of Shikia, Leo, I think also, and Sopa Chedius.
So their question is really kind of neuroscientist question, question as a so in this case. We have been, having a little bit, difficulty to differentiate whether the neuroactivity is actually induced by neuron activity or the, by the kind of, muscle activity. to understand better what kind of involves behind this kind of a mechanism. So they will do some kind of an experiment. In that experiment, what they will do is that they will just stay in still and without moving any kind of muscle, and then they just kind of mentally try to create some kind of little bit disturbances, maybe thinking kind of horror, or maybe, and then also thinking a little bit the peaceful and pacifying kind of event, and then they see if there is a kind of any fluctuations of the neuroactivity that correspond to different frequencies of the it could be beta, alpha, or whatever.
Okay, so mentally imagining something peaceful and something disturbing.
Yeah.
All right, and making sure to stay very still.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. I like it, and I think that goes really able to's idea of looking at pictures. And they could also stay very still in that experiment. I think it's a staying still, making sure you're relaxed and comfortable while doing that experiment. I think it's a good design, and it controls for muscle artifacts. Do you think any frequency in particular would be affected?
Ani chigi shidi papi tuyangin chana gomya drabu tandita yamena chigin jisurungwa tat kanda chig sem tuja tuyo yunga sam gomya che ani tini nyi gi gombe nekabli ya chigi yungu kyoni mewa che ani zubu dehe jorwa ani tindegi nedan kola taya dhirinduwas dat tanji ruka nyibe gi nano la yang pigi la par ta che par liya ani chig jisurungwa dan ani yang chig pigi la shidi papi tuyangin ani tindegi nang nyi drabu nyi ta che ani koran zo diya tagara ani da karsuguren dawu cha yungudwa inju nige kabliya kanda zubu de jorwa di ane shane gi yungu de meba sugwe jorwa andi ke chembu chagi yores antine number 2 chiwadi kharin sidu sambala ane neda denje gi nalo la ane khoran chogi ane dwechwe dan dewi gi ane ya dwechwe diliya shukje ma yungsare da diliya chedru ma chesar se jorwa antinde gi ya samju ke yobe khare
better say this young tanda ngasu khutsu mandra de gazu khutsu tande mi chiwi gani palata de ndo tindi par mi chiwi ta gani tawi ba na ya wanshi ngocho de kole shi ke sban jirwa ta tindi ngasu tin mai ba wanshi le maybe toni ti yes ta tanda ani ti better
reda
ta better sim typical better say ya ma tu chet ma yo.
So their idea is a little bit different than the group number 2, because in the group number 2's case, actually they are perceiving, looking at the horror image. So in that sense, the sensory modalities are kind of activated. But from their case, they will just close the eye and mentally, imaging horror image, or maybe, something peaceful events or whatever. So their hypothesis is that, when they mentally imagining some kind of disturbing events, then at that state, they assume there will be more kind of, the better activation.
Great, thank you. Table 7.
Rugadimba. Danganso Rugadimba. Nanso Jidan Zawi Chane, Dandadi Consodo, Danda Rukani Bado, Ani Nabato, Zawi Chane, this Dawano Dira. Danganso did Count Carriorison and any can't tell this Taja stop the window, the Pensinia Danganso. So then also Carriorison, Michiki, Danda, Lopse Chick the Deva Teda, a Lopse Chick the Devanyam the color, Montanda, Nyam the Lenera. Take us under the love so can also Seja Carchers and the data lines there. Take this Jawan Rore, some the Trinidad Seja.
Data you are doing there. The Lord said, Chick the dream said, Digan and Young Hamda
Liga. Yamdal Natra Yungorta.
Namda Yungore. That
taking Tanamatuma Lapsara. Take Archers and answer the Mimomboch Temutashi ni Kuribot Tichota. Kuribot Tichin Magi Taman Tama Dochix needs Hayong Dagi. Did capsule called the Tane. They was called Lotte Maduna Magi Lutumara. Tami momoto so ani keja udi tsambala ngontra ji le yung ragi. Tiniche di take up school cheba karan rose. Ani tinyam de temu tangi so gane temu tangi so bedel hele cha de ora. Konso paru gi dia durya ista.
Okay. So principally their idea is pretty much same with the group number 5 and the group number 2. But a little bit, difference is that, what they will try to do is they will try to see, when someone is actually, when someone is kind of a little bit in focused, but also a little bit anxious. So at that state, they try to see what kind of, the frequencies get generated on the neural activity. So for example, to illustrate that, the situation they are, the situation or the scenario they are saying is that when someone is, when someone is playing game board and watching around, and then there's only two, the what's called the small, the round pet, round petal. They need to put it in. So at that situation, the individual who is playing the game board actually a little bit in focus. But since everyone is watching, and maybe he's a little bit anxious. And so in that state, we try to see what kind of, we assume maybe, that individual generate more kind of the delta. And also we wanted to place a muse to the people who is watching because they are quite rest, at the resting state. So we will try to see the difference between these two.
Thank you. That is, that's a great experiment. I would love to, I would love to watch. So, what would you compare that state to, or what do you think you would find? What are you trying to examine with that question?
Cheza da dile de sambal chewa ding nano la churangi ani pige le jeba chene ani chik raya gi thabshi jorwa da khari raya gi ani rewan masuna dikya gi rest da dinanon
nganzo raya de tagi nganzo konzo monche di ngontran ra da tisoma de menda nganzo gi thabshi gar di raya rewa gar ge orsena ngontran da danda di lotse chik de bajinda tini nika lengi kansa de la danda tik de jawa gar ro thabshi te gar rewa te jorda.
Basically what they wanted to see is when someone is in a two different kind of state, anxious and also kind of little bit focused, so they wanted to see what kind of frequency gets generated on their neural activities.
Great. So when they're anxious and focused,
yeah,
and maybe when they're just focused, when there's not a crowd around them, is that what you would compare them to?
Can you repeat the last part? I missed that.
I think we're running out of time, so that's an experiment, and let's go on to table 8. I want to make sure everyone gets to dinner.
Okay.
만석이 된대지 거스는다. 먼저 차장이 간된 지겨워. 아니 가시게 간된 지도 잠발았다고 지그랑 직지보 되는지만 또 된다 삼았다는 거요 말아.
네네네.
다 뭐뭐지게 된다 삼았다 칸에 된바다 냠도 된다 삼았다는 지겨워. 다 만석이 따지 제디 강서 소소소소 원에 따지 제여 버지. 셴발라 따지 지내 제여 버지. 다 간데 제르슬라와 있나 이마직 소소에 간된 지도 잠발라 직지보 돼. 된다 삼았다 당하지. 아니 아사니 모델라 책 된바다 냠도 된다 삼았다지. 간데 제제로. 다 딩이 바로 레케버타네 땅은서 최샤데 카르레라바이나 테타 웹텔라. 코티스 나소기 네바블리기 도민도 대단 제어 여바인자. 테타 웹텔라 된다 삼았다네 간데 징이텔라 슈치아 용고도스.
아네
테타 냠도 아니 디 슈치아 용디 kengi 니기 피세텔라 아니 교아직 탭기도스.
니기 피세라. Okay. So their idea is that most of all the monks they do their daily prayer and recitation, and And some people tend to do just, verbally reciting the, whatever the verse or the, the scripture, but not really get into get into the contemplation of the content, that is in the verses. So they wanted to see the difference between these two. The experiment they can carry on is, maybe they can do experiment for themselves, or also they can do experiment for other people. So what they will do is that, first day they will just verbally recite the scripture and whatever stanza they are doing, and not, getting contemplation into it. And then the next day they will just not only verbally reciting, but also do a little bit of contemplation on the content of the verses. So their assumption or the hypothesis is that when the content of the verses, it really pacifies your mind, and because of that, they assume there would be more kind of theater activation, the frequencies, and thus by it also lead to have a good or proper sleep.
Great, that's great. One question: what might get in the way of verbally reciting and recording the brain activity?
Chezadi tanji ani gen gilegi tiwadi da chigbare to yan pigel ani that tinde pigel lebe gi chego tsenje bi kable ya diparu din ya shembale yu an jorwa baje do chne yu jorwa a sigma khane man dön di sambala an di khar chagi yores shaning
de alla sa teo de gorts mas kar sakin ale parje chingidi di kare beta mare
marda ta inju chona za khane man dungu yorwa shene ma sungu yorwa ta pigel neural activity chibu mainge diparul yan di pigdin jere parje chingi ta kari yungu diparula
re ta muscle activity
on the yes that in the
Awesome, thank you. All right, I know we are running over a little bit, so table 9, final table.
Tangazo tuse tesi gedu ani ta ruka guwadi das.
Tangazo gi da nyamshi che zo de la da di do. Ani ngawo nye ni da ngawo langye ji do mi. Ngawo ni ku ni ngawo ya langye ji do. Ti da ani yang ko chiwo den di nye ji do. Wo di ni paru ge ni da ni tu bo le jora. Wo di gi bi la da khabar dwe jora. Wo di
So their idea or the what they're going to do experiment is some people go bed earlier and then you wake up a little bit earlier, and some people go bed very late and wake up late, and they wanted to see which one gets better quality of the sleep.
And how would you measure better quality?
That they let sambala ni ge puse ya yungu du se jura de chana zo khande chine senje chingis
to zo de ni tubo jura odi khaje mangle khumi gone
they will measure which one gets the kind of in the deep state of sleep, and based on that they can maybe infer the one who is having a more kind of in the deep sleep state is kind of in having a better quality of the sleep.
Okay, which one do you think will have more deep sleep?
Cheza dini ni nalo la ni dan tubu kwe di dini ni nalo sulu ma yungure samgu dos.
Nganje samar da ni ngawo ni ngawo ti langni juda on ti la ni ti ya yang seres.
So we assume that someone who goes bed earlier and wake up earlier have a more kind of deep sleep state, deep sleep.
All right, well that's not me because I drank too much coffee, so I'd like to see those results. Thank you. We can all go get food now.
Di genla khora maris genla khora coffee thonje chibu digi usarwa ani di tumde dizure ni tae ge deba us ani tagai ani shela chowa pen.
James has been teaching all day, and I think he's an amazing teacher.
Genla khorange tri nyima nyinga thi ani genla da pe misi bi gen ya ko shi lob tri thombu yunjo jorwa tinde re shasta